It's Thursday, and it's time to get a take on the news from the left, right, and middle, we hope. Once again, from the left is award-winning journalist Karen Hunter, and from the right is Washington attorney Horace Cooper. Hello to both of you.
Hello. Good evening.
Okay, first of all, I'm laughing because just before we came on, Karen asked, what are we talking about? So this will be very interesting.
Why you gotta stick me out?
Because it's just so fun. It's just so fun. All right, let's get going. I'll get to it. All right. Woosah. Okay, let's talk. Let's talk about this big news. The federal judge, ruled that McDonald's can be considered a joint employer with their franchises, which sort of opens the door for fast food workers at this company to be able to campaign for higher wages, better work conditions, and perhaps even unionize. So my question, and I want to start with you on this one, Horace, why shouldn't they be able to do this?
Well, first of all, the NLRB is overreaching the same way they did by saying college athletes ought to be considered professionals. This is going to get struck down in the federal courts. This won't even get to the Supreme Court. It's just bad law. Now, the truth of the matter is, if you're working at McDonald's, that's more a sign of the skill set that you bring to the table. If you're not knocking out $40,000, $50,000, or $60,000 because you work at McDonald's, that's not because McDonald's is exploiting you. That's because the skill set that you are applying isn't getting appropriately used because you're not at a place that can give you $40,000 or $50,000 or $60,000. If you can get $40,000 or $50,000 or $60,000 from McDonald's, then what we will end up paying at McDonald's will be the same price that we pay at a Morden Steakhouse. McDonald's doesn't have a future in that kind of world.
Oh, contraire, mon frere. First of all, unfortunately, because of this economy, so many people are forced to work at McDonald's, people with college degrees, people who have worked extremely hard for the majority of their lives and just simply cannot find employment. The fact that a grown person has to work for $7 and plus cents when the going rate, if we are taking inflation from 1967 to now, should be somewhere in the range of $10.70, is an abomination. It says a lot about this country of ours that we do not even have a living wage or any rights for these people. And as far as unions, I'm mixed on that. But in the case of McDonald's, they absolutely should have some workers' rights and some unions to represent them. Walmart workers, and a whole host of other people across the country who are just trying to make ends meet, who are now forced to not only not be able to make ends meet, but also go on the government dole. I think you, Horace, should really
This is the dole. This is exactly the dole. Instead of having the taxpayers pick up their costs, you want to put that burden on employers.
Yes,
here's the
that's
truth.
what it should be.
No, it's not, because you're going to see the same kind of.
So you're saying McDonald's would go out of business if they had to pay their people what you know?
Are going
by
to
the way,
see.
By the way, a living wage is $22. Right?
No,
a living wage.
There is no such concept as a living wage. There is what you can get in the marketplace. If you bring your skills to bear, you, Karen, are going to get a lot more. If somebody brings skills that are less, they're going to get a lot less.
Well, you know what? It's so nice, Horace.
Let me just jump in here, Horace. Let me just jump in here, Horace, and ask you a quick question, then you guys can go back to arguing. And that is, what does skill set have to do with fairness and appropriateness for the workplace? What does that have to do with anything?
There is no such thing as I get paid what I need. There's such a thing as I can bargain based on the talents I have.
So we should have children working in sweatshops, and we should go back to women making. They already are making. What?
There is no $22 value in walking up and standing in front of a machine, and I say I want a Big Mac and fries, and you hit two buttons, and that orders it. That is never going to get you $22
folks on Wall Street who are making millions, I don't know if they do that much for the millions of dollars that they make. So if we're going to talk about skill sets.
If you went to college, and that's what your skill set is enabling you, then you chose poorly with your education.
Wow.
We need to be making better choices.
Well, I'm so glad
so that
you're not
we
running
can
this country right now.
Math,
a lot of the workers
science,
out there.
All right,
technology,
I'm just going to say
that's
this.
where you're going to get the resources.
And that is, I worked at McDonald's as a teenager, and so many of my work ethics I learned by working at McDonald's, and of course my skill set is much higher than it was back then. So my apologies on behalf of Horace for disparaging all my fellow.
I am not, and I do not accept that criticism. Absolutely, we all started off with the kinds of jobs that our skill set would bear. We took those experiences and we built on them. The problem is you never are paid what you are needed. You are paid what you are able to deliver. Hitting two buttons is never going to be worth 22 bucks.
You're acting as if the workplace today is the way it was when Debbie and I, and maybe you, I don't know, maybe that was a different generation, not sure, were coming up. It's a different, it's a different world now. People who have college degrees are forced into jobs or forced on unemployment or forced into not working at all.
Because of the living wage type concepts and the efforts of unions to push American companies to leave those communities that unions dominate, people can't find the jobs that they're looking for. And we now have a situation, and that's a whole topic for another day, where in 1990 you could graduate with an Elizabethan major in English and still prosper. Today, times are much harder, and you cannot. You got to get that math, you got to get that science
and you're not even,
and
you're not even mentioning that
the
tuition now is astronomical. So
all
even,
right.
I mean,
I'm going to jump in here, and we're going to move. I'm going to move us on to our next topic, and we'll live to argue about that another day. I want to talk a little bit about it's what people have been talking about all week long, and that is this very provocative, controversial video that was revealed of Ray Rice having apparently knocked out his girlfriend at the time. He did, by the way, go on and marry her, dragging her out of the elevator there. Of course, he was given a 2-game suspension. Many have said that that penalty was too small. So here's my question for the two of you. Karen, I'll start with you. That is, what does this incident, the penalty and this incident, say about the NFL, say about women in society, say about our societal views of domestic violence? Take it where you want.
Oh, gosh. I mean, it's so complex. I'm afraid to say anything because people are losing their jobs and their livelihoods for having an opinion on this matter. But you know, a couple of things stood out for me. First of all, Ray Rice, who can bench press probably 300 pounds, dragged his girlfriend down the hall, didn't pick her up lovingly and gently take her to the emergency room where she probably needed help for a concussion, that he knocked her out in the elevator. Number one. Number two, cameras, just like we saw with Jay-Z and Solange, have completely changed the landscape because under normal circumstances, this just would have happened and we wouldn't have known about it, maybe heard about a police report. But the visual is very stark and it's emotional and it makes people really feel something. The third thing is that she married him. After he knocked her out in the elevator and dragged her down the hall by her feet on a dirty carpet in the hotel, she married him and said that she probably provoked it by hitting him first. That psychology right there speaks volumes. And I have a hard time, you know, coming on one side or the other when this woman is committed to him after he knocked her out.
That does add an interesting twist. Let me stop you right there, Karen, so Horace can get in. Horace, what do you think this says about us?
I have to say the decision to stick with this individual is extremely troubling, and I don't know that that is a statement about society or the statement about the individual, but it's extremely, extremely troubling. If I were the NFL commissioner, what I would have said once we got the video is until you sit down with the police department without your lawyer present and answer their questions, you can't play. Now, if after that they decide not to press charges against you, then we will let you play. My responsibility is to help you be a good citizen in the community. Having no charge, no investigation, no indictment, and then saying it's on the NFL to handle the penalties for this, I think takes this in a direction that it's got no business going.
Yeah, indeed. We're going to stop right there. We want to make a special announcement for Karen Hunter. What you got coming up? Very quickly, Karen.
Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m., Sirius XM, channel 126. This one will be having her own radio show starting Monday. Tune in.
Congratulations. Thanks to both of you guys, and thank you for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.